Chapter 33. Daniel Bruner was thinking, and as was his custom when in deep thought, he wandered around his office. His thoughts were focused on the meeting he'd had with Anthony Russell the previous day. He knew that encounter would change things. While he respected Russell as an individual, he took exception with his assertion that Geneseed used predatory business practices and endangered poorer nations' environments and economies. Russell and his company, EnvironLife, had already portrayed Geneseed negatively with investors, affecting its stock value. If Russell were left to continue with his agenda, the stock would continue to plummet, and Geneseed would lose millions of dollars, perhaps even billions. He stopped pacing and stood by the window, looking down at the gateway arch. He loved this view. It usually gave him a feeling of serenity, even when dealing with all the pressures of running a multi-billion-dollar corporation. However, today, the view didn't provide the same tranquility. He moved over to the wet bar and poured himself a small glass of whiskey. Then, looking at his watch and seeing the time, he set the glass back down. He had a rule: no drinking until after 12 o'clock noon, and it was only 11:30. The problem was how to stop Russell and his organization from doing further damage to Geneseed. He'd faced criticism before, and they'd always pulled through, but he felt this time it was different. Somehow, he needed to discredit Russell. But how? Tony had finally spoken with Stephen's parents. Apparently, when he'd called before, they were helping a friend move into an apartment after downsizing from a 4-bedroom home. They hadn't heard from Stephen for several days, which for them was pretty standard. His father, John, had said that they were better at staying in touch with Steve than Steve was at staying in touch with them. They promised to tell Stephen when they spoke with him that Tony was concerned and would like Stephen to contact him as soon as possible. Since he still hadn't received the information Steve had promised, Tony tried his cell phone again, but like before, the call went to voicemail. Tony took a chance and called the Austin Police Department's non-emergency number. A woman answered the phone stating, "Austin Police, Officer Chan speaking. What is the nature of your call?" "Good afternoon, Officer Chan. My name is Anthony Russell. I've been unable to contact one of my employees, which is very much out of character for him. He's a resident of Austin. I was expecting his report yesterday, but I've not received it. I've called his cell phone multiple times, but it goes to voicemail. Are you able to check and see if anything has been reported regarding him?" "I'm sorry we cannot divulge information that may pertain to any case under investigation." "I see. Okay. Let's tackle this from another angle then. I want to report a missing person." The officer hesitated, then said, "Very well. When was the last time you had contact with this person?" "I last spoke with him Wednesday morning, probably close to 11 o'clock. "And where did this contact take place?" "It was a phone call. At the time, he was in Richmond, Virginia, but was booked to return to Austin that evening." "What is the name of the person you're reporting missing?" Tony continued to answer the officer's questions, including address, phone number, etc. required to complete the missing person report. She took Anthony's information and promised to call him should the police locate or have any updated information regarding his absent employee. He ended the call feeling slightly better, knowing he'd taken a step toward locating Stephen. Henry had scanned through the security tapes from the previous 3 days. The day before, Javen had held the news conference, and it was the most logical day when someone could have brought the envelope into the bureau without notice. He was going through that tape more diligently. So far, nothing on the video positively pointed to any individual carrying what looked like the envelope. He was about to give up when something on the video caught his eye. He backed up the recording and replayed it in slow motion. As the rush of people entered the main entrance, he caught a glimpse of something that flashed briefly, but was mostly hidden by the stream of moving bodies. He zoomed in on the video frames, but even that didn't provide the clarity required to confirm that what he saw was absolutely the envelope in question. His gut feeling was that probably was the day and the time the envelope was delivered to the bureau. Henry called Javen and shared the information. Javen asked him Okay, I can accept that it's most likely the day when the envelope got into the bureau, but how did it get to my desk? It wasn't at your desk when you returned from the news conference, correct? I didn't go back to my desk right after, but when I did return, it wasn't there. It only showed up this morning. How about this? Henry said. Let's assume the envelope made its way in here the day of the media scrum. Okay. Then once inside, the envelope was probably left in the gateway room somewhere, since that's where everyone went for the conference. Following you so far? Then, when the cleaning staff came in that evening, they saw the envelope left in the room, took it, and put it on your desk. Why my desk? Isn't your desk the desk closest to the hallway leading to the gateway room? I never considered that, but you're right. But there were no fingerprints on the envelope. Last time I was here, when the cleaning staff were working, they all wore gloves. Right. Henry, I think you have something here. I'm willing to accept your theory of how it got in here. Now, we need to figure out who brought it in and what the message pertains to. Want to take a run at that? Henry laughed. Not my forte, Javon. That's all yours to deal with, my man. Well, if you change your mind, I'm certainly open to suggestions.